Hey everybody, this is Zach from Yaz, and today by request I'm going to be talking about the Yoast SEO plugin. Now, two quick things to get started. The first is that I'm only going to be talking about the free version. I've never used the SEO premium version of the Yoast SEO plugin, and I've never really felt that there was enough benefit to do so. And the second thing is that I'm not going to be showing you how to set it up. I'm going to assume that you already have it set up on your site. There's lots of great resources out there to help you get set up, or if you want, I can make another video about that if you'd like to hear it from me directly. So this video is just going to be about me showing you basically how we use it and how I think you can benefit from it as well. So to get started here, in the General tab, there's not really a lot that you'll be using once it's set up for the first time. I think under Integrations, no, wrong place. Okay, over in the SEO tab on the left, I'm going to click on Search Appearance. This is where most of the, kind of in two parts, I guess. There's the general SEO settings, which are going to help you with a lot of your defaults, and then I'll go into an individual page and show you how to make changes to an individual page as well. So when you get to this page, you can choose what's called a title separator, and when you let the site choose your titles and stuff by default, this will just decide what goes in between them. My preference is, I think it's called a bar, but really this can be any of these that you like. You can set your organization logo there. Here in the Content Types tab, this is going to let you pick some default variables for different parts of your site. So posts will be anything that's either a blog or some specific kind of post type that you've got. I think there's different sections here for like pages and stuff. So what this is going to do is decide how it'll create any of your SEO titles and meta descriptions as soon as you make a site. You can set these later individually. I recommend doing this on any of your important pages, but if you have like thousands of blog posts, it doesn't necessarily make sense to go through and do each one unless you have the time and resources to do so. It would only benefit you, but it really comes down to how much it's going to benefit you. So to give a quick description of what SEO title and meta descriptions are, SEO title is also known sometimes as meta title, so those are kind of interchangeable. So if I go here to a Google search where I've searched Yaz Tech Developments, what I'm going to see here, first the part that's the actual link, that is going to be your SEO title or your meta title, and the description under it right here is going to be the meta description. Another interesting fact is that when you hover over a tab at the top of your screen, it's also going to show you the meta title for whatever page you're on. So if I go straight to my home page here, you'll see that it is award-winning Saskatoon web design company. Yeah, just another way that you can use your meta title. Okay, so in this case for individual posts, the default that I have set up is title separator site title. So by default, as soon as I write a blog post and publish it, it's going to create an SEO title that will start with the title of that blog post. Then it's going to have the separator, which will be that bar that we talked about. And then it's going to have the site title, which is the title for my entire website. Under the meta description, I've used the excerpt one, and you can click and see a list of these different variables. You can use like categories if you want your site to be adding that in there. It comes down to whatever works best for you. Excerpt is going to either take if you've built your site and posts in a way that allows you to write out an excerpt, it's going to use that. If not, I think it just uses like the first however many letters of your actual content. You can use these settings to decide like what kind of page it is. Honestly, this is not something that I've really used much, so we can just go on from there. Oh, I also in the meantime opened up this other tab that has Yoast's like list of available snippets and a description of each, so you can feel free to come to this site. I just found it by Googling Yoast SEO variables. And so it'll tell you like what the title is and how to get it in the code, all that fun stuff. So it'll be basically the exact same with all of your different pages, templates, and like Works is a specific post type we made for our portfolio. Team members is a post type we made for our team. And it's just got all of the exact same settings. So you can set what you want and save changes there. And now we're going to jump onto an individual page because there's some more specific stuff you can do for each page once you've set up those general, I guess, settings as you want them. So I'll scroll down on my home page to this Yoast SEO section. The first thing that you'll need to do is enter in your focus key phrase, which is what you want. This doesn't actually really change anything on the front end. This is just letting this tool read your page in the context of this is what you want to be focusing on. So it's going to read all of your content and say, this is good for that, this is a nice match, and give you recommendations that I will show you in a second. Kind of right off the top, you can see that there's these little like smiley faces that change depending on how many of the recommendations they have that you're not yet fulfilling, and I'll look through a couple of those and why. They're not always, like, you can't always hit 100% of them depending on the kind of page you have and what content you have. So under readability, if I click on this tab here, you can see that it says there's one problem and that I haven't used enough transition words. So transition words are like when you're in the middle of talking and then you say like, however, some people say, or that sort of thing. I'm sure I could go in there and add some. I don't really think it would be enough of a value to the content that I already have to do so I'm just going to leave that. But these do have some really good points. A lot of what the readability comes down to is not like how many times your keywords appear, but kind of more importantly, how is your usability from like a reader's perspective. So if it's like too complicated to read, or you like repeat stuff, if it's going to be a bad experience and people are going to be leaving your website because of your content, that is going to be a much bigger problem for SEO than how many times you've used your keywords. I think this is something that people don't really think about as much as they should, but while it is important to have these sorts of SEO optimizations of keywords and key phrases, Google is paying increasingly more attention to user experience. The more people stay and interact with your site, the more people go to different pages, the better it's going to make you look. Because if Google sends somebody to your site and they leave immediately without interacting with anything, that's actually called a bounce. And that's just a way that Google thinks that where they sent your customer was a mismatch. If people are not staying on the site, then that was not the right choice for Google to send them to. The more you make Google look bad in that regard, the more they're going to kind of shove your pages down. So it doesn't matter if you have perfect keyword insertion and meta titles and all that if people are not staying on your site, if it's not interesting, user-friendly, that sort of stuff. So under the SEO tab, you can see a little bit of a preview here. Just the same as when we were setting all of those defaults, instead of using these variables, I'm actually going to fill these in myself. So award-winning Saskatoon web design company, YazTech, we wanted this to be our meta title, because obviously if people search for YazTech, we still want to be found for that for our homepage. But like web design company is probably even more important than our names, because we're not really competing with other companies to show up for our name. So it's not as important to put that first. You'll see there's this little kind of green bar here, and this green bar shows you how much room you have to work with before it starts cutting off your meta titles into dots. So like here where you say this like ... that means that I have used too long of a meta description. And if you just made it super long, it's really of no value to anybody because they're not going to read it because Google's going to cut it off. So you want to stay within this green, kind of get as close to like being full without going over. As soon as you go over, you'll see that it turns red. So definitely don't want to do that. If you have too few, it's also going to be red or orange. So stick in that green area and you will be fine. So you do want to, of course, in your SEO title and meta description, include whatever your most important keyword is, but you want to do it in a way that still makes sense, that you can read normally. So it's not just going to be like keyword, 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 keyword. Again, it's more about usability than keyword stuffing. So let's look under this SEO analysis tab to see some of the issues that it is finding. So you can see that it's got these problems, improvements, and good results. So some of the problems that it's having, outbound links, for example, it's saying that I'm not linking enough to other websites, which in blog posts, I'm more interested in that, but like on my homepage, I want to link to my own pages. I'm sure somebody else might tell you that you still want to have outbound links, but for me it didn't really seem that valuable at this time. The second one about single title, it is true that you should only have one H1 header, but what this the Yoast SEO tool doesn't really understand is that we have two kind of forms of our website. So we have a different section at the top for desktop and mobile. So it's actually seeing both of those that we've set up. So it does think we have two, even though we only have one, so we can ignore that one. And it wants me to add more key phrases in my subheading. And it's great to do that when you can, but if you have really simple headings like services or about, it doesn't really make, like it will affect your usability if you have to make really long ones. So if it works organically, definitely include your key phrase more in your subheadings. If it's gonna make it look weird, read weird, just don't worry about it as much. Image alt attributes are something that I didn't care as much about before, but do more so. I'm probably gonna come in and fix this later actually. It is, I'll show you. If you come here in the media gallery, give it a second to load, and click on any of the images in here. Here you'll see this that says alternative text. So alternative text is important for two reasons. One is that on your page, if somebody is like visually impaired and using like a page reader, the alternative text is one of the only ways for that page reader to be able to say what this picture is actually about. So it's really good for accessibility. But the alternative text is also great for getting your images to show up in Google searches. So yeah, if you have like a blog with like hundreds of images, it might not make sense to go in and add alt text to every single one, but the more you do it, the more benefit you're going to get out of it. And key phrase and title, it does not contain the exact match. We used to be a lot more strict about trying to put the exact keywords in our title. And again, it's like web design Saskatoon. We've kind of played around with this. We've gone back and forth about whether or not that's actually that beneficial to us. And what we've been finding, and of course when it comes to SEO, you can't really find exact rhyme or reason because it's not a system that's meant to be understood fully. It has been much more of a help for us to have like relevant content than just stuffing our keywords wherever. So yeah, that's all I have to say today about the Yoast SEO plugin. There's probably a lot more ways that it can be used that we just aren't using. I've watched a few videos on ways that other people use it, and nothing has really stood out to me as anything that we are missing out on. So hopefully this can give you kind of a focused idea of what you can and should be doing to get some of the benefits out of it that we are. If you have any other videos or anything about this that you want me to explain further, definitely let me know. Otherwise, please like, comment, and subscribe. Recommend any other videos you want me to make. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.